Black Panther. So Black Panther was directed by Ryan Coogler and stars Chadwick Boseman as the Black Panther. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name because I know I'll mess it up. But it stars him as the Black Panther, and he is now the king of Wakanda, and he's trying to do what's right for his people throughout the entire movie. It takes place after the events of Civil War, as most people can tell, and is pretty much giving us the quote-unquote origin story of Black Panther. Now, this movie has a lot of really good actors and actresses in it, but before we get to all that, let's just start off by saying this. Wonderful story, wonderful movie. It's just beautiful as a whole for the most part. Again, for the most part. If you think about it in one way, this movie is pretty much the live-action Lion King, as you can tell by my intro. But we'll get to that also in a moment. So this movie, as I mentioned, has a lot of really good actors and actresses. Chadwick Boseman comes back as Black Panther. We got Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, who was amazing in this movie. He was by far, I think, my favorite part of this entire movie, as well as Andy Serkis as Claw, one of the other main villains in this movie. He had a very small part, but that's not even a spoiler. It was expected from a lot of people. I can't really get into it too much for some reason because I don't want to spoil too much of it. I know it's been out for a week and all that, but I don't want to spoil too much of it if able. This movie had an excellent use of culture, given the fact that it's a movie that takes place in a South African area of Wakanda. It gives you a lot of culture for what they have in their country, as well as pretty much the way they live, which is huge, especially in a movie like this where you don't see it that often, especially in a Marvel movie. And that's something that a lot of people really praise this movie for and praised Ryan Coogler for because of what he decided to do with this movie. Chadwick as Black Panther was amazing once again. Michael B. Jordan, well, let's talk about him for a moment. He played Killmonger, who is pretty much the villain Panther. I know that's not even close to anything at all, but we're gonna stick with that, the villain Panther, aka Killmonger. His performance in this movie was by far the greatest part of this movie, hands down. Everything else about this movie was amazing, but his performance in this movie, hands down, was the best. I loved every second of it. Watching it was amazing. There was nothing that could have went wrong with his acting in this movie. Now, there were a lot of other good actors in this movie, such as Lupita Nyong'o, I'm going to butcher that name, and Denai Guerrera, who I probably butchered her name as well. But they are the bodyguard and the family member, I'll say. Now, as I mentioned before, this movie was visually appealing. It was a great movie all in all. This movie had a couple of CGI moments that weren't the best, and when you watch the movie you can see it, but there's one scene in particular where he's at this cliffside and they're getting ready to do like a pan up of everybody that's there, and for the most part it looked like a lot of the people were kind of CGI'd in. I'm guessing because they probably didn't have the budget to hire that many extras or something. I'm not entirely sure. They were trying to save money, but there was that, as well as some of the action scenes in this movie. There was a lot of crazy stunts in this movie and action scenes that you could just kind of tell were CGI'd in there a bit. But if you're looking past the CGI, this movie was a great movie as a whole. The music throughout this was amazing. I love the soundtrack. It's absolutely wonderful. There's a lot of great comedy in this movie as well. There's a lot of jokes that were made, and not too many to the point where it was overwhelming, but just enough to the point where they had the jokes, they were funny, and you could still move on with the movie without missing anything in particular, I guess you could say. Now, like all Marvel movies, you gotta make sure that you stay for the end credit scenes. Both of the end credit scenes are amazing and mind-blowing as a whole. So make sure you stay for those. As I mentioned before, the acting was wonderful. The story was phenomenal. There wasn't really much disappointment with the story. The CGI could have had some work done on it a bit, but at that point it's so minor that compared to the rest of the movie, you can't really be too concerned about it. The use of the culture, I'm going to go back to this again. The use of the culture is excellent. Ryan Coogler did a great job knowing his culture with this movie and understanding the South African culture to make this movie a bit more understandable and give that feel of what it's like to live in Wakanda. And that was amazing. This movie, I definitely recommend watching the movie, whether you want to watch it in theaters or on film, like DVD, who uses film anymore. If you want to watch it on DVD, Blu-ray, wherever, definitely do that. If you want to watch it in theaters, definitely go for it. I love this movie. I'm giving Black Panther an A-. Guys, thank you so much as always for watching. Check out the game review for Dissidia Final Fantasy that my buddy posted on the page yesterday, actually. He put it on there yesterday, so check that out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, this is Pop Culture Critics signing off.